This time on Monkey Life. Excitement at Hananya's enclosure when chimp Cherri finally gives birth.
Cherri's still very tired, so we're keeping our fingers crossed.
New arrival Pacaja takes a shine to Oaska.
Wherever Oscar is, Pacaja is pretty much about 3 steps behind him.
Here she comes.
And fearless golden-cheeked Gibbon Kim leaves her new friend Tien behind when she heads for the trees. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescues and rehabilitates abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
They're all going to have a chance to live proper lives again. Perfect.
The park provides a home for more than 240 monkeys and apes from 19 different species. Mornings can be a rowdy affair at the park, particularly among the chimps, who are always eager to get outside. But today, Hananya's enclosure is suspiciously quiet. That's because overnight Cherri finally gave birth to not 1, but 2 baby girls. The chimp team is keeping a close eye on events, but are also keeping their distance.
It's really difficult to monitor the babies because we're trying to keep things low-key. We don't want to crowd Cherri. As far as we can tell, everything is fine, but really to monitor any closer than what we're doing, we'd need to interfere and start separating Cherri off, and we don't want to do that. So we're quietly watching from a distance and keeping our fingers crossed.
Cherri hasn't got the best track record as a mother. She's had 2 unplanned babies in the past. First, there was Seamus, who's now happily ensconced in the bachelor group. And 2 years later came a little girl called Pip. Cherri was very young at the time, and although she did initially look after them, a few weeks later she lost interest, and Jeremy and the team had to step in to hand-rear them. So they're understandably wary.
Both times she starts well, or reasonably looking after babies, and then for one reason or another it fizzles out and we end up having to hand-rear them. Now the chances are that will happen this time. Just because she looks after her for a few days doesn't mean she's going to continue to do so, but hopefully I'm totally wrong. Because we've got more interest from people like Simon, who was very interested this morning, and Arfur and Shamak. Maybe that will influence her in a positive manner.
Giving birth has taken its toll on Cherri. She's going to need all her energy to care for her twins.
Cherri's still very tired and sleeping lots, but she is coming down to staff, so that's really important. She's been down a couple of times and taken food from us, so whenever we get the opportunity, we make sure that she has a good handful that she can take back to the nest. So we're confident that we're keeping her fluid and food intake at a level that it needs to be.
So far so good, and Simon is certainly looking after Cherri. But how the rest of the group react to the twins will be crucial. And everyone is on tenterhooks waiting to see whether Dad Hananya, who has so far kept his distance, will step up to the mark. Another resident at the park is also expecting twins. Marmoset Clyde was found to be pregnant when she was recently rescued from a house in Liverpool.
Hey, sweetie.
She was taken away from her owner along with her partner Charlie by police when she was found to be living in appalling conditions. Sadly, when the team checked Charlie over, they discovered he was in terrible health, and soon afterwards they had to put him to sleep, leaving Clyde all alone. But a few weeks ago, another marmoset was rescued from the British pet trade. Milo was found to be living in a small cage in a bedroom. He had no outside access apart from when his owner took him out and about.
We've got a witness that's seen you at the pub with a monkey.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Once again, he wasn't being properly looked after.
His fur isn't in good shape and he's underweight.
The team decided to put Milo and Clydie together, and they seem to be getting on well.
Really, Milo's got mental problems. Physically, he's doing okay. But this quiet, natural environment is just the key to his rehabilitation and being paired up with another common marmoset, because that's what's most important to them, as others of their own kind.
Every morning for the last few weeks, Jeremy has been checking on Clydie to see if she's given birth, as they're not sure when she's due. Today, he notices something different about her.
She doesn't look quite as round as she did, because she's not had them in...
Jeremy is worried.
There's a bit of blood on the floor there. I'm just going to shut this door.
It looks like Clydie has already had her twins, but there's no sign of them. They should be with her. Jeremy isolates Clydie and Milo in a side playroom so that he can go in and look for them. It's not long before his worst fears are realised.
Yes, I don't know if you want to see this on your pictures.
Clydie has had her babies, but they haven't survived. When she arrived at the park, Clydie was not in good health, so this isn't totally unexpected.
The top and bottom of it is, though, Clydie just wasn't in physical or mental condition to have babies. And really, that is not remotely surprising. It would be surprising if she had babies normally and looked after them normally. And, you know, so really, it isn't a surprise. She looks quite okay on all this. So, no, I'm not remotely surprised at this outcome.
The park doesn't breed marmosets, so Clydie won't have any more babies. The main focus for the staff now is her rehabilitation. At Oaska's house, the woolly monkeys are all busy foraging. Females Quappa and Zingu love being outside and are trying to encourage newcomer Pacaja to join them. But she's nervous about leaving the house.
It might just take her a little while to realise that that's where the entrance is and that she needs to go over there, but they're all trilling, which is brilliant because it means that she can hear where they are and she knows to follow that noise. And because it's a happy noise, it'll put her at ease as well. So hopefully she will just follow that noise and make her own way out of it in the end.
Leader Oaska, whom she's taken a shine to, heads back to show her the way. And it seems to do the trick. Pacaja starts to follow him. And gradually she makes her way through the long tunnel to the outside enclosure. 7-year-old Pacaja has been moved to Monkey World from a zoo in the Netherlands as part of the European breeding programme.
Oaska! Papa! Zingu! Come on, you guys! Good boy, Oaska!
With all the woolies outside, it's time for a treat. Today they're being given some tasty camellias. In the wild, a woolly monkey's natural diet consists of fruit, flowers and leaves, so this is a perfect snack.
Hi! Would you like one of these? Oh, not so sure about them, I don't think. Woolly monkeys are known for being neophobic. They're frightened of new things. So sometimes when they see something they've never seen before, they're quite apprehensive at first. So yeah, he's not quite so sure.
But Oaska likes his food and soon gets a taste for the pretty flower.
Oh, is that nice? Do you like another one? Good boy. Well, Oscar's definitely a fan. Papa? Good girl.
Quappa, who came to the park with Oaska from a zoo in Switzerland 3 years ago, immediately takes a liking to the camellias. Pacaja seems quite happy for Oaska to eat her flowers. She's too busy exploring. Karen tries to tempt her.
Hey, Pacaja, wanna try one?
But she's not interested.
Pacaja's settled in really well. She's much more part of the group now. She was a little bit on the outskirts when she first arrived, which is quite normal. It takes them a while to fully integrate, but she's getting on much better. She does spend a lot of time with Oaska. They seem to get on really well. So wherever Oaska is, Pacaja's pretty much about 3 steps behind him.
And that's good news for the breeding programme. Oaska hasn't had many children yet, but it's hoped he and Pacaja will soon be welcoming the patter of tiny, woolly feet. There are 2 patas monkeys living at the park. Mitza, who was rescued from Slovenia a few years ago where she'd been kept as a pet, and Sissy Joe, who was rehomed from a monkey sanctuary in Cornwall to keep her company. Patas monkeys originate from Africa and are the fastest primates on land, reaching speeds of up to 55 kilometers per hour. Not that you'd realise that from watching Mitza and Sissy Joe, however, who are both elderly and take life at a much more relaxed pace. Recently, staff have become concerned about Sissy Joe, as they've noticed a worrying growth on her thigh.
She's got a history of having growths, but she's now about 21 years old, and she's an old lady, and a lot of animals, including people, I suppose, get lumps and bumps as you get older. It's sort of the process of life. And it's something that we have to deal with Sissy Joe because we believe that there might be yet another new growth on her hip.
It may be nothing, but to be on the safe side, the team have called in wildlife vet John Lewis to investigate. However, he's apprehensive.
The fact that Sissy Joe is 21 years old, then, or thereabouts, means the anaesthetic is obviously more risky in old animals. The surgery, no. I mean, it doesn't mean the surgery is any more risky unless we find something more sinister than I expect.
Sissy Joe has been given a pre-med to calm her down and hopefully allow the primate care staff to inject her by hand. But it doesn't seem to be working.
The pre-meds had some effect, but possibly not enough to allow us to walk up to her and inject her with the induction agent for the anaesthesia. So we're just getting the kit ready in case I need to put a blowpipe dart into her.
When John arrives at Sissy Joe's enclosure, she's still wide awake and moving around. So John decides his only choice is to anaesthetise her using the blowpipe. This isn't ideal because it could cause her stress. He waits until he has a clear shot. As soon as Sissy Joe is asleep, she's taken to the hospital, where John is able to examine her properly. He immediately finds the growth, which the staff are worried about.
She has a lump here. Right. This was the area that she had the previous surgery, and that's where her big lump was. And according to the notes, that was 1.3 kilograms, which would have been like that. Let's have a look. So there's the original surgical scar running along here. I don't feel any massive regrowth, or if that's regrowth, that's incredibly slow. I just don't think that's anything significant.
So, good news for Sissy Joe.
I think that's a lipoma too. Doesn't feel like an abscess, doesn't feel like a lymph node, although the lymph node should be deeper. Do you know, I'd leave her well alone. If these are really slow growing, she'd probably die of old age before she dies of these lumps. So there's no point in putting her through a lot of surgery.
Thankfully, the lumps have turned out to be harmless, but the primate care staff will continue to monitor her closely over the next few months. Golden-cheeked Gibbons Tien and Kim are getting on like a house on fire. The 2 youngsters have recently graduated from their families and moved in together.
Everything's going really, really well. We're very impressed with how they're doing. We've seen lots of contact between the two of them, very positive contact. They're very happy squeezing into very small space past each other and things like that. And all of this is really good signs that their relationship is developing. They're starting to develop that trust and contact with each other.
Today, it's time to let them loose in their very own huge tree-filled enclosure. But the team aren't sure how they'll react. Tien should be okay, as he's used to climbing trees. But for Kim, it'll be a new experience. She's only ever had hoses to swing on, and her old enclosure was covered overhead.
She might come out, be really confident, she might be really scared, and also we're obviously worried about the fence that they've never used before either, so we just got to wait and see what's going to happen. Come on then, guys. Here she comes.
Kim is first out, and to everyone's surprise, heads straight for the trees, showing no fear at all. Her natural instincts have immediately kicked in. She looks around for Tien, but he hasn't braved it outside yet.
Tien! Come and see!
He's surprisingly cautious. Despite being older than Kim and having had trees in his other enclosure, he seems unsettled by his new surroundings. Slowly, he makes his way towards his new partner.
Hi! Kim has just been absolutely astounding. She went straight up into the trees. She's exploring absolutely every nook and cranny of those trees. You can see how wonderfully she's moving, that the fitness level that she has is perfect for this, and she's got all the skills and ability to move in the trees.
Despite Kim's encouragement, Tien is still wary.
These trees are a very different shape and different style from what he's actually used to. Much more big open space as well, because you haven't got the dense foliage that he's used to as well. So it's really good for him. He can really stretch out and take some big jumps. But at the moment, he's still a little tentative, but hopefully over the course of the next few days, he'll settle in and start really enjoying his new home. I think these two are going to be really happy in this enclosure. I think they're going to settle in really, really well, and everything's going to work out great for them.
Back at Hananya's house, chimp Simon seems to have taken on the role of bodyguard to Cherri and her newborn twins. Low-ranking Arfur is also being very attentive.
Simon's still sticking very close to Cherri and monitoring the situation closely, but he's starting to relax. For example, we've seen him go over and groom Hananya. So he's spending periods away from Cherri, but returning frequently. And I think he's responding to her and her needs, and also the babies. So, for example, if he hears the babies cry, he'll rush back and make sure everything's okay. And he's also keeping an eye on the other members of the group, and he's allowing individuals to get close. But if the chimps start to crowd Cherri, then, you know, he's still making sure that she's getting enough space.
Simon is taking his self-appointed role very seriously. And as he's quite a high ranker in the group, the others do take notice of him. Marjolaine's having a go now. Dominant female Cherri can give as good as she gets, but with two babies in tow, decides it would be wiser to get out of the way and seek sanctuary higher up. Dad Hananya is still staying on the sidelines. He's yet to show any interest in his two baby daughters.
If you compare with Paddy, Paddy is a perfect father, and he's always attentive, but, you know, and he keeps his hands to himself. He lets, you know, he lets Susie, you know, when he's there, and he'll just touch the baby like that, but he doesn't get involved with the actual looking after the baby. But he's very attentive of policing the other animals around her and that sort of stuff. Well, this morning it was Simon and Shamak doing that in particular. That's just an observation. Hananya's, you know, Hananya would be a fantastic number 2, but he's not a natural leader.
With Simon attending to Cherri's every whim, the chimp team starts to make preparations for tomorrow, when they plan to let the whole group out together. They want to get things back to normal as quickly as possible.
I think we really want to take a hands-off approach with this group and also with Cherri and let nature take its course, really. We know that Cherri can feed babies. We know that she has a very important position in this group. And looking at her needs and the needs of the group, she wants to be with everyone. And the more that we can keep things normal in terms of the group and their routine and their life here at Monkey World, the better. So it's a big decision. She's going to have to negotiate the outside enclosure, and there are risks there, but we're just going to take it, you know, each day and each hour as things go.
The whole future development of these babies and everything, we're just going to have to wait and see. They can make a much better job of this than we can, so we need to leave them alone. Let them get on with it.
Next time on Monkey Life. It's the big ape move, as Gordon's orangs swap houses with Sally's chimps.
Okay, you got that bit wrong.
And Cherri tests out the high hoses with her baby twins in tow.
All we can do is hope and keep our fingers crossed.